So as we look at the agenda for today, we're going to kick things off. Laura's going to give an update on the latest from a Neurons UWM perspective. Then we're going to go and have a look at some of the exciting developments that we have from a base platform perspective. And then we'll move through Discovery, Workspace, Edge, and round things off today from a healing perspective. And without further ado, Laura.
Thank you very much, Robin. If we go to the next slide, I'll talk through the features that we've added, and then I will give you a little demo of them. So the first thing is policy change request integration for ServiceNow. So some of you will remember when we added this to the on-premises solution, it was a huge success. We've got lots of customers who really enjoy being able to integrate application control with ServiceNow. So we want our app control customers to enjoy that same opportunity. So that will be available from the July release. We've also added the ability to set elevated rules to auto allow. So there's a couple of new options on the rule creation page for elevation rules. It just means that you don't have to create a separate allow rule for those anymore. And you can also have them allowed even if they don't have a trusted owner. So you've got that level of security there for you as well. And the third feature that we've added to this release is the ability to choose where the events get stored. So again, it's kind of feature parity with the on-premises solution, but it gives you the opportunity to select for events on the device to get stored to the Ivanti event log rather than the Windows application event log. So you can choose between those two items, or neither if you're quite happy for them just to get uploaded to Neurons and analyze them up there. So it gives you those options. It means that you can integrate with a CM tool or something like that if you want to. Now, I am going to talk through some things that we didn't quite get into this release because I know that I did talk about them last time and I wanted to let you know what's going on with them. If we continue on the slides. So we didn't manage to import on-premise configs for July. That work is very close to completion though. So it will be officially launched in October. If you are a customer who is looking to import your existing on-premises configs and you'd like to have a sneak peek of that and try it out, see what happens, please do let me know, get in touch, and I will more than happily get you onto a beta program for that because we'd love to get as many real configs imported before we officially release to see how they go. The next one will be support for Entra ID. Again, this is top of the priority list from an app control perspective. I know many of our customers are unable to migrate across to Neurons App Control without this feature. Again, it was just missed for this release. We fully expect to be supporting it for October. So I hope that helps. And then policy change request with bots is the other big thing that will come in October. The bots team have worked really hard to make it available to us. Unfortunately, the app control team haven't had enough time quite to fully test it, make sure it's all working properly, ready for this July release. So again, we're looking for October to be able to officially release policy change request integration with bots. But in the meantime, let me share my screen with you and I will show you those features that we have done for July. So hopefully you can all now see Neurons App Control. If I come to my configurations and open up my existing one, I'm just going to edit this. So I talked about elevate with allow. So if I open up this elevate rule that I've already got, when I come to the summary page here now, so the rule already exists, it's got a summary. I can now make all applications allowed. And like I say, I can also set them to be allowed, even if it's not got a trusted owner. When I save that, it now has a new rule type of elevate and allow. So in this list of all the things, of all the rules in the configuration, it now is differentiated from just elevate rules as well. So it gives you that ability to find and track all of those as well. The other bits and pieces I talked about are all under the settings. So we have under advanced settings, we have the policy change request. So this is where you can turn it on. Again, this is just for ServiceNow in this July release, but it will be for bots and other things as well in future releases. But it's very similar to the on-premises integration, as I've said before. You can choose whether or not it has its own desktop items or whether it's just on the context menu. You can enable the access denied message box link as well. So there's lots of different ways to turn on policy change request as well. You can change the polling interval. The more frequent it is, the more load it will have on your ServiceNow server, which may incur charges from ServiceNow. So it is worth considering how frequently you really need it to poll. And then there's obviously all the ServiceNow credentials that you need to fill in as well. There is a great video on Ivanti Help showing you the ServiceNow integration with the on-premises application control product. So it shows the end user's experience as well. It's exactly the same for Neuron's App Control. So if you're looking to see how that works and what it's going to look like from an end user perspective, then do have a look at our YouTube channel because there's a great video there that shows it. The other setting I talked about then was the ability to raise events, and that is set right here on the auditing settings. There's one other change that has come in this release, and again, it's around the policy change request, and that is, of course, that we've added more charts. So we've now got allowed applications via policy change request and elevated applications via policy change request. There's now a lot of charts on this homepage. So in a future release, we're going to be breaking this down into multiple tabs, so it's easier for you to find the information you're looking for. If you've got thoughts on how we do that, or if there's any charts that you want to see that we don't have already, again, please do get in touch either with me directly or by logging an idea. I am reviewing them on a fairly frequent basis, at least weekly, to really understand what our customers are looking for with Neuron's App Control to make sure that we are delivering the product that you need. Anyway, I think that's everything I had to cover. Back to you, Robin.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Lara. And that takes us onto platforms. We've got a number of things to talk about today, and we'll talk about some of the enhancements we've brought into preferred servers. Now, this is predominantly to support patch. We'll get a little bit more into that as we go through, as well as 50 embarking on our journey to support ARM64. So again, I'll give an update of where we're up to on that journey. We'll talk about enhancements to MQTT, some enhancements across the board from Dashboard Designer, Reports and Audits, and then we'll round off with a hotly anticipated feature for maintenance windows and discuss what's covered in our initial phase there. So with that said, let's go and have a look from a preferred servers perspective. Now, we introduced preferred servers in the previous release, and preferred servers gives you that ability to stage and distribute content from a file server that is local to the devices that are consuming that content, with the goal of preserving bandwidth. So again, very similar concept to what we have within EPM. Now, the enhancements we brought in this release is a sync service, which is designed to fulfill patching. So previously, up until this point, preferred service was only for app distribution. As of the forthcoming release, once this is available, this will provide the ability to sync patch content down and distribute it from within this preferred server configuration as well. So along with that, it provides the ability to sync between servers and the sync error reporting experience with that as well. So as I mentioned, we are on a journey to support ARM64. So this is going to be a phased rollout for us. We're not going to support all capabilities on day one. The team are working on the base agent support. The initial use cases will be patch and app control. Again, this will be something that as we continue to work on those capabilities, we'll have a compatibility matrix on the help system, which will articulate exactly what is supported. So again, we are just starting out on this journey, so don't read that as we get into the January release, we'll fully support ARM64. The work there is for the base agents, and additional engines and capabilities will follow suit. So stay tuned for more details as we release that out. So next is MQTT over WebSockets. So MQTT is a protocol we leverage heavily on the Neurons platform because of its ability to scale and act in real time. So this is what we leverage for both edge intelligence as well as real-time agent controls as well. Now, we use the RFC official designation for MQTT. I'm using port 8333 for secure MQTT, which is fine and great. However, again, it's as far as some customer networks go, especially when they leverage a proxy server, because it's not a typical port. So yes, it is the RFC standard port for secure MQTT, but it's not a commonplace port that many organizations will already have open. So in order to reduce that footprint of port requirements and make it more proxy friendly, we will be offering the ability to leverage MQTT over WebSockets over port 443. So again, we're targeting the end of July for this capability, and this will facilitate customers where it's more of a challenge from certain locations to have outbound access on that port, or if certain network infrastructure causes a challenge with MQTT, this offers up an alternative. There won't be any changes for existing customers unless they go in and change that setting. It is a tenant-wide setting. This will be a setting that appears under the settings menu. Okay, next up is Dashboard Designer. So we continue to roll updates into Dashboard Designer. Now, again, the focus on this is really enhancing the patch experience, but we also have rolled in improvements across the devices data store as well. So what this provides the ability to do is to leverage device groups to pivot the data. So before, again, you could choose individual attributes within the charts to filter down, but if you already had pre-created device groups, you weren't able to use those. So one of the hotly requested features for the team was the ability to leverage pre-existing device groups to pivot the data sets on. So that's something that the team will be introducing in the July release. Following on from dashboards, of course, is reports, and reports today is a platform experience. The initial use case that we've brought in on that is our patch capabilities. So we have 2 data sets available today. We have the device patch deployment history and the device patch scan. But what we've done is really extend the flexibility of those data sets, so customers now have the ability to create custom templates. So you can see a screenshot on the right that articulates what that looks like. So you've got the ability to choose from those 2 patch data sets, and you get the same fields that are exposed within the Dashboard Designer. And this gives the ability to either create an on-demand report or to then go ahead and schedule it just in the same way that you can with the regular out-of-the-box templates. Also got the ability to export those as CSV only in case you want to use the contents of those programmatically as well. So some good enhancements there. Next up, on a related reporting theme, are enhancements to the audit history feature that we introduced over the previous couple of releases. And so what we've done here is listen to the feedback and enhanced the export capability beyond 30 days up to 90 days. So again, that provides a broader range of data within there. But as well as that, we are also introducing a technical preview. So this is one we'd love to get feedback on. And this is the ability to take our audit history and to forward it onto Azure Blob Storage. So again, it's bring your own storage for this use case. But what that will provide the ability to do is to have an outbound connector that's going to export those audit trails onto Blob Storage, which means it can be scooped up by your SIEM tool of choice. So we've taken a generic approach to this to maximize compatibility with the different SIEM solutions out there, and we are egressing it in a standardized format to make that ingestion of the data as easily as possible. In terms of frequency, we support 30, 45-minute, and 60-minute frequency for that. So like I say, this is technical preview. So again, it is subject to change, but we're excited to be able to share and offer up that capability and definitely welcome any feedback. Last and definitely not least is maintenance windows. So as we talk about maintenance windows, of course, provide the ability to set controls as to when certain behavior can be targeted. So our initial release for this, and I say initial release, we're talking about phase 1. This is a feature that we're going to continue to develop on top of, but this initial feature applies to both patch operations and agent framework operations. So when we say agent framework operations, we mean the update of Ivanti binaries, so the agent and its corresponding engines from that perspective. So if I exit out of the PowerPoint for just a moment, and I can show you an example of what this looks like, which is a bit easier than looking at a screenshot. So as I go into agent policies, this is a pre-production tenant within here. I'm just going to go and find a policy that I have within here. And what you'll see is we have a new section within the policy. So this is a per policy configuration. And when I go into edit mode, I've then got the ability to go and create a window. So this maintenance window is going to be local to the endpoint. So if you've got geo-dispersed endpoints, it's going to be based on the endpoint local time. I can give it a name. I can choose the start date for that maintenance window, the start time, the end time, and I can choose the recurrence on that, or whether it's a one-time one. And I can also add a random delay within that one as well. And so once I have that maintenance window, I can add multiple maintenance windows. So those maintenance windows are global. Again, today, as I mentioned, the features that are maintenance window aware is agent framework. So in other words, when Ivanti release new binaries, new engines, and things like that, they will, if you don't have a maintenance window, the devices will check in periodically for available updates, and it will consume them on demand. When you have a maintenance window configured against that policy, those operations will the binary install and update will only happen within those maintenance windows within there. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. And that takes us on to discovery. And I believe we have Rex on the call to cover some of the exciting things we have going on in the world of discovery.
Robin, if you could just keep sharing real quick, we'll just jump through this. Sorry, guys. We have a couple of new connectors. First off, this scenario connector, or as we typically will refer to it as the Ivanti Neurons for Healthcare. We've updated our connector to be able to handle all of the new items from inside of Scenario and their new authentication model and their new device layout. So very excited to see us do that. As we've been getting feedback from many of the areas, the one item that has been asked for a bunch is, hey, add me additional filters. So Intune, as we look at Intune, there's a lot of different fields and capabilities. The API continues to get updated. It's exciting to see how much Microsoft is updating that API. Well, one of the items that we added in is the ability to filter the different device types. And so we have the ability to add a filter in, say, hey, don't bring in BYOD or personal, only bring in corporate, or vice versa. We'll give you the ability to only pull in personal. So the really important part is that you can say, hey, I just want my corporate devices. Anybody that got their device under management in Intune due to O365 access, you can go ahead and not import that into my ITAM product. The virtual vulnerability scan, we've talked about this many times. We just added additional data into the device view. So if you're looking at a specific device, you have the ability to view that. We'll go to the next couple slides, Robin. We'll just jump through software. As we go into that software inventory V2 and we start looking at it, one of the things that we want to be able to do is edit the softwares, that the applications or the executables that are used to calculate software usage. Sometimes as we discover applications, there's no executable associated with them, or there may be multiple executables in the system. And so as we look at that, we really want to make sure that we have the ability that the end user or the consumer can go in and change and track which executables they really are interested. So if I'm looking at my O365, I may really just want to track publisher because I know everyone's using Outlook, so that doesn't give me as much valuable data. So you can go in and edit the executable that you're tracking to really give you better usage and runtime information. This is especially important for line of business applications. So this is a very exciting change, an update to our software inventory. And we continue on. Inside of the license capabilities, there is an allocation tab, which allows us to go in and modify and say, hey, I want to set the downgrade and upgrade. I want to borrow licenses from license 1, loan them to license 2, and use every one of my available licenses in the way that's legal for us to be able to go up and down, that they have the ability to really change those things. So we're very excited about the ability for us to have this ability to do upgrades and downgrades in the licensing. So very robust abilities here to go ahead and move on with that. So um, maybe I'll take one little piece here on chip to cloud, Robin. Probably my one to hit, and then we'll turn this over back to you guys. As we talk about Intel chip to cloud, Intel has released, for those of you that have tracked Intel chips for many years, they had AMT and then vPro. They had the Emma server. We had unique capabilities to manage it. Well, Intel has come out with a new capability that they refer to as Intel chip to cloud. Intel chip to cloud is a SaaS-based capability, and they have solved many of the challenges that we've had in the past of enabling that vPro capability. This gives us keyboard video mouse or KVM support inside the BIOS. So we can reboot it, we can do a remote control session, power off and on. Now, this is going to require an additional license. This is not enabled in anyone's environments yet due to the business agreement. We are working through the final little piece of the business agreement with Intel. As soon as that business agreement is done, we'll be moving along on this. So we're very excited to see this. Intel's been a great partner, and we're very excited. You will see this turned on. It is a very exciting piece, and I'm very happy with how the ease of use that has come from the Intel side. So to be determined there, just a little piece here left on that signing of the terms with Intel. We're all in agreement. It's just a couple of little legal wordings. So we had to get the attorneys involved, so you know how that's going to go. All right, Robin, back to you guys.
Fantastic. So as we move on to Edge Intelligence, really there's a couple of call outs here. Again, mentioned really the MQTT is really the big lift the team are working through for that one, but a couple of additional elements the team have been working through this quarter. One is plugging in the Edge Intelligence capabilities into audit history. The second is enhancing the application control sensors. So again, these are the ability there to go and look at the events that have been raised and the state of application control for both hybrid and the Neurons native app control as well. So you get that same data set available from that perspective. So that takes us on to healing. And of course, on the workspace section, we could talk about bots there as well, because it talks to both SKUs. But we're going to cover that off in healing. And so maybe first, before we get into talking about some of the capabilities that we have in bots, first of all, we'll cover app distribution. And so really the first focus there is bundles. Bundles is really the main deliverable there, and something certainly that has been hotly anticipated. And that is again, this is if you want to be able to install multiple applications to a device. Currently you would have to choose them as individual apps within here. So the other key challenge there as well is sometimes the sequencing is important there, making sure you install the prerequisites in the correct order. So really this is where bundles come in and help you to define the multiple applications, but also sequence that order that they get installed in there as well. Anything you'd add there, Rex?
I would just say on bundles, as we talk about bundles, as we go in and build packages, we had the ability to create steps inside the package. But once in a while, we'd build a package and we'd say, oh, I want to reuse that. And we were having to go in and rebuild those same steps. Now you can take existing packages, put the packages, chain them in order. And as part of this, we've had to update the status messages. So you'll get into the deployment status messages, and you'll see we'll have a status message for each application in the bundle, as well as each step inside of the application. So really exciting to see the reusability and how we have that capability of using those in a combined fashion.
Awesome. And you'll see a little hint in the bottom. OS provisioning will also be using this. So yes, the team are busy working head down on OS provisioning. You're not going to see anything in this release. The team are busy working through. This is one of those prerequisite pieces that is part and parcel of that. So again, we'll have exciting updates in the future on that one. And there's a view of the deployment status update improvements there as well. Okay, next we move on to bots, and again, you'll notice there's a few different terminologies. We're settling on the final terminology for this. We've been looking at no context, hypercontext, multi-context. We will be making the final decision on what we're calling this thing. But effectively, with bots, historically, we started out in what we call device context, and that means that we work against a device that has the Neurons agent on, and that device is online from an MQTT and edge intelligence perspective. When the bot runs, it makes sure the device is online, and then it will go and dispatch the workflow of the bot to that device. A few releases ago, we introduced the ability to queue actions on offline devices, and when the device pops online, it can go and run those bots. So that is still within the device context, as we call it. We then introduced people context that lets us solve some identity challenges, and is an area that we continue to build out and extend. And that means that instead of running against a device or a set of device groups, we can run against a person or a group of people and go and do people related items in there. So that would be the people context. Now, really, what we talk about with this latest dimension of bots is something that really sits the level above. So it doesn't start in a particular context, it just runs. So when you go and run the bot, either run it from on demand, or I run it as part of a schedule, it doesn't start with any device groups, it doesn't start with any people groups, it just runs, and it takes the applicable stages as they come. So, why is this significant? Why is it important? Well, first of all, it gives us the ability to work across a much broader data set, because we're not looking at agents or people records. We can run in a much more generic format. So as we look ahead to some of the great automation powered capabilities that we want to get to, and advanced orchestration, both on the patch side and kind of additional broader use cases as well, this is one of those prerequisite steps. And so as we build out those capabilities, we're releasing these Lego bricks of functionality that unlock use cases, but they're part of a bigger picture. And this is an example of one of those. So Lara alluded earlier to the policy change request with bots. That is built on the basis of this multiple context automation. And what, in effect, that gives you the ability to do is to both look at device inventory records as well as people inventory records, the ability to interact with APIs, to interact with service management tickets, the ability to use all of the different logic stages in there. So if you think about use cases, for example, I might want to go and look through inventory and find devices that are still in warranty, but they have a bad battery chemistry health, so they're eligible for warranty replacement. Maybe I then want to go and create ITSM records for those devices. So this kind of logic gives you the ability to perform those type of actions, whether the device is online or not. It's just going to run instantly based on that available information. And not only that, I can also take it a step further, and I can switch to the device context within one of these workflows. So we have an all new stage type called to device context. You can just see it within that screenshot in there. And what this lets me do is to dynamically switch into a device context. In fact, let me jump out and show an example of this working. So I'm going to go over to my bots experience over here. Again, just makes it easier to visualize when you see this part of a demo. And when I go and create a bot, you'll notice, again, this is a pre-release tenant, so you're going to see existing additional trigger types in here that you don't have. And as I mentioned, some of this naming and terminology is going to have some tweaks and changes. If I go and create a new bot within here, what you'll notice is that the capabilities that I have available look different to what you traditionally see within the bot. These are things here that are compatible with things that aren't running in the context of a device or a user. So again, I can go and pull in, for example, my device inventory within here. I can go and, for example, I might want to go and select some different groups, which is a new capability that we have as part and parcel of this. I can go and choose what information I want to go and pull in and use within this workflow. So I get that full spectrum of device inventory data there, which is the same as the group builder. So I want to go and pull in computer name. Cloud managed I'm looking for here just to make sure I get some data. So there we go, we get some examples within there. And once I've done that, I can start to have a list of information that I can use. I could also pull in people information as well within the same workspace, which traditionally is mutually exclusive. So I can work with those multiple object types. And when we talk about that new two device context, what I've got the ability to do with that is to either manually type device names. I can token in device names, which are passed in from an input or passed in from an API, or I can switch it to list input mode, and I'm going to receive the devices that I filtered on from that query, which is going to be the group devices that have been further rationalized down from the filters within that stage. I can also add additional outputs to this stage. So this effectively becomes a bot within a bot, or bot to bot. And you'll notice something that when I click into this two device context, if you're sharp-eyed, you'd notice this library changed. So now within here, I have all of those device level capabilities in here. If I click outside of that box, it updates. I get a little blue flashing animation around the outside, and I'm back to the regular context capabilities within here as well. So as I click into here, I can start to build this out with things that are going to run against those devices. So all of a sudden, I now have a device context bot that sits within more of a generic bot. As I start to connect other stages downstream of that one, maybe I want to pass something into a Teams interaction, for example. As I click onto here, I can choose, again, some of the stages that I have within that device level bot. I can go and take that information, I can pass it in, and then I can use that information outboard of that one. So, for example, in there, I'm going to pass in some information within that Teams interaction, or I could inject that information into an ITSM ticket, for example. So lots of possibilities, lots of capabilities as you get your hands on this. Would love to hear some use cases, ideas, ways that we can enhance or create out of the box content to package up some of this. But straight away, this potentially unlocks thousands of new use cases. So again, very, very exciting to have those new tools, new capabilities. There are some guardrails and limits on here. So when you switch into this device context within here, it will limit you to 1,000 devices at a time. So just be aware of that. But in general, for most use cases, that should provide good headroom, provided you have the right filters and capabilities on there. Again, this isn't a replacement for device context, but it provides a way of being able to work against both offline devices, but also for devices that are available online, being able to pull in and use agent-based capabilities to augment what you're doing. In the example of policy change request, this is where you can semi-automate some of those requests by looking at the posture of the device. Is EDR enabled? Is your antivirus up to date? Is your firewall enabled? That might automate some of the policy making decisions for certain types of requests, as an example. So having the flexibility to pivot into that device logic is again a piece of innovation that we've been able to bring to this release. So the next item to talk about is patch by survey results. So again, covered in the patch innovation session, we'll talk to this at length, but really just an overview in terms of the bot side of this experience. This is an all new trigger type on surveys, and this provides the ability as part of ring deployment with our patch management capabilities to deploy a patch at each stage of that ring deployment to a selection of the users. So on the patch management side, you get the ability to choose the correct threshold. So first of all, you pick a survey. We have an out-of-the-box template available to get you started. And then you choose the various thresholds. So what's the response rate that I need? What's the satisfaction rating that I want to acknowledge? And based on that, it will, once you deploy the survey out to devices within that ring, it will distribute a survey to the users, letting them know we've made a change to the device and finding out whether the user is experiencing any symptoms as a result of that. The user just gets 3 easy voting buttons. Everything's fine. I've got a problem, but it's not affecting me too much, or I'm having a problem and it's affecting my productivity. according to that, it's going to rank the survey, it's going to score the survey, it's going to pass those results back to Patch, but then it's going to follow up with the user and ask them to explain the symptoms. And it's going to take that context. It's going to then do a snapshot of different actions on the device to go and capture some empirical information. This can all be enhanced to go and automatically create an ITSM ticket or a ServiceNow ticket for the user as well if they want, if they need any help resolving it. But it's going to package all of that information. It's going to take it back into the well, for one, it's going to pass it into the Patch experience. So if you meet all of your numbers to automatically advance, everything's good. It will the happy path is it will propagate across the ring. If your feedback doesn't meet the threshold, that's when the administrator needs to review and manually advance the patch. But what's going to help them with that job is you get that full generative AI breakdown of the patch survey experience. So if I just show an example of what that looks like, if I go back to my bots here and just show an example of a survey within here, the admin's presented with that that view of the feedback. They can go and explore the per question breakdown in there. They get the generative AI review of what the key symptoms were. And then they can go and click and filter onto these and kind of understand the free-form feedback from the users. So as they're looking at that ring propagation, they can weigh up the importance of getting that patch rolled out versus any symptoms that have been reported by the user, understand the commonality of those, understand who's impacted. But then because you're also pulling in additional information, you can pivot that sentiment with a different context, be able to filter, for example, on different device types. So this can help to build that picture. Okay, I've got patch stability issues, but it's only affecting this vendor. It's only affecting this architecture, for example. So again, having that data captured along with the survey means that you can you do a lot of post-process within this experience and help to be better informed as you decide what the next steps are going to be. So part and parcel of that is a new iteratable type of survey. These are disposable, these are use once surveys, and you're going to use it once for each deployment on a set of devices. So to visually scale with that, you get a new table within a table view for these types of patch surveys, which makes it easier to clean up old ones where you don't want the data anymore, and also it avoids clutter within the UI as well. So let me go back. Center view within here. So a corresponding capability, if you use a Microsoft Teams interaction, we had, I would say, a less than ideal welcome message for the initial experience. We've taken time to improve that, both with a new default message, but also the ability to not only customize the message, but in this release, we provide the ability to provide a custom message per Teams locale as well. So we support the same localization sets that we do within the Neurons tenant itself. So it's not every localization. If you need additional ones, do let us know. We can plan to look to extend that one. For this initial release, we are providing just the out-of-the-box set of mappings within there. And this means you can go and provide a suitable welcome message for users that are on board. This is a one-time message when the bot's first installed. It's how it introduces itself to the end user. So you have that new capability within the bot settings. So the next thing to talk about really, and I won't, just from a high level within here is Windows 10 to Windows 11 migrations. So again, many folks are on that journey. Some are planning to tackle it later. Some have already completed. But in general, as we look at the different options available to users, yes, there are different ways and means of achieving it. But in general, from an end user perspective, it can be high friction in some cases. And as well as that, there's a potential for things to go wrong, both as part of the update process, but also the visibility, understanding where we're up to, trying to find the right balance point between giving users enough flexibility to kind of manage the update, but also getting the job done within the time frame that you want to get that project completed in there as well. And also the challenges really of just communicating with the end user why it's important, why it's significant, what they're going to benefit from, and getting their hands on the right resources to be able to do it. So with those challenges in mind, we set about building an out-of-the-box bot template to help customers achieve it. And the good thing with this bot, as well as being able to help achieve that use case, is a lot of boilerplate in here that's useful for other use cases as well. So from a high level, what does a bot do? Well, first of all, we wanted a consolidated bot so it can do multiple things depending what mode you run it in. So there is quite a lot of logic when you look at it, but it does break down into separate steps. And the first aspect when you're approaching a Windows 11 migration is which of my devices are actually compatible. So of course we've had a stage and an out-of-the-box template available for that for some time. So we use that same stage within this bot, and what it does is first of all check you're on the right build of Windows 10. Then it does a Windows 11 compatibility check. So you can run it in assessment only. It's not going to do any upgrades. It's just going to find out, are you capable? So based on that, this is the blue section that's going on in here. It's going to take that information. It's going to store whether you're compatible or not. If you're not compatible, it's going to list out every reason why you're not. And then it's going to take the information. It's going to send it back out to inventory, so you have a permanent record whether the device is online or offline, whether it's compatible with Windows 10 or Windows 11 or not. Because you've got that that permanent record, it means you can then go off and create device groups based on devices that are compatible, devices that aren't compatible, because you know the underlying reason as well. Some of those might be overcomable. You know, if you think about things like virtual machines, if they're running on a hypervisor but they don't have the virtual TPM enabled, it's going to complain and say, I can't install because I don't have TPM support. Okay, Hyper-V, I can go in and switch on the virtual TPM. Now it can go and upgrade. Again, you know, VMware, maybe I want to install the virtual TPM service. So different ways and means, and depending what the issue is, it may be blocking, it may not be, but this is going to give you that information to decide what to do next with those devices and formulate the project plan. In addition to that, it's going to take a snapshot of the digital experience of that device. So it's going to look, while I'm on Windows 10, what's the CPU, what's the memory usage, have there been any recent crashes, what's the Windows reliability, what's my latency and my connectivity strength, what's the logins like, and it's going to take a snapshot of the current DEX score as well. It's going to take all that information, it's going to store it so that if you want to compare it with post Windows 11, that's available within a bot data store cross bot stage. And it's also going to formulate that in a CSV email report. So you've got an email report there of all of the devices and where they currently stand, both from a compatibility and a digital experience perspective. Next is really where you actually want to go and start scheduling the upgrade. So again, as a bot input, you go and just at the time when you run the bot, yes, I want to either upgrade with user interaction or just want to push the update on silent, you know, just behind the scenes. So again, depending whether it's a user device or just another device where you want to get it on and the user interaction isn't important, you can make that choice. When we interact with the user, what we're going to do is first of all check in with the user, say we need to, well, in fact, before we do that, to maximize the chance of the update being successful, we're going to check the disk space, make sure you've got enough free space. If it hasn't got enough disk space, we're going to attempt to disk cleanup, and then we're going to carry on. We're going to check in with the user and say we want to go and yeah, this is why we're installing Windows 11. Yeah, this is the business rationale why we want to get it done. To proceed, make sure you're on power. It's going to take XYZ amount of time, and then the user can either click yes, I want to update it now, or no, I want to defer. If they defer, we use a delay stage to wait for a day and an arbitrary amount, and then we present the next opportunity to the user. You can defer it one more time, or you can do the upgrade now. Again, they can either ignore it, in which case it'll advance onto the next stage once it times out, or they can click update now, or they can defer the last time. After the last time, it's just going to proceed anyway. It's going to move on to the next phase. Then it's going to check whether the user's actually plugged in on AC power or not. If they're not on AC power, it's going to send a toast notification saying your device is about to be updated, and it'll give them a 10-minute grace period, and then they'll be able to go and update. And meanwhile, the bot's going to check in at each stage and keep the admin in the loop if they've executed it on a one-on-one. Of course, that information is available on the one-to-many as well. So different ways of running, different logic. You can run it one-to-one, you can run it one-to-many. It's got all of the feedback in there, the different checks. Again, you could augment this by leveraging, you know, app distribution, for example, or preferred servers to do the heavy lifting within here. The approach within this particular bot is standalone in that it executes as Windows installation assistant. So it is actually the operating system kind of orchestrating and downloading itself. Obviously, to do it in a more efficient way and take advantage of the Neurons technology, you can augment this by you know, using those additional capabilities that we have on the platform. But yeah, hopefully that gives an idea of the logic and some of the orchestration capabilities that we have within bots from a more elegant use case perspective. If you looked at it from an admin perspective, that's what the view looks like as you're going and performing the install. So again, you can give that step-by-step feedback to the analyst that's initiating the upgrade. From an end user perspective, again, all of this is completely customizable, but that's an example of what the end user will see there in terms of, you know, first of all, selling the upgrade, explaining what they're doing, giving them the ability to upgrade or to defer it, and then telling them, okay, now we're actually getting on with the upgrade. And then it hands over to the Microsoft experience. And then afterwards, once we've determined that the device has been upgraded, we can close the loop with the user and confirm to them that, yes, you are now on Windows 11. So some other bots content we've been working on. So again, we've had a history of having the Lenovo out of the box bot templates there to orchestrate Lenovo components, as well as Dell. We've also introduced some HP support in there for BIOS drivers firmware as well. So this is leveraging the HP Imaging Assistant. So we're just orchestrating the existing vendor tools in all of these use cases. So within this one, again, different modes of operation. Analyze will show what updates the tool says is available. Install updates will tell the tool to go and apply and install those updates there as well. That is now live and available as a bot template within there for HP devices. We have also made an additional Dell template as well, which historically the Dell template we had was drivers only. We've expanded that now to support the full gamut of update types available through the Dell command applications. That's a new template and supporting stages available. And we're also working on some Teams call quality analytics template improvements there as well. So these improve on the out-of-the-box experience with new capabilities there to get the best out of the stages that we they introduced at the start of the year. So that really rounds off from a bots content perspective, and also really rounds off what we had to share today. So